Welcome to Duo Reads, where we decode deep ideas and break down big books one page at a time. Today we're cracking open a text that, well, it's influenced millions. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, you might know the title, maybe even some of the famous stories, but how is it that some people just seem to pull success out of thin air, while others, just as talented, seem to struggle? Hill spent, over 2 decades trying to uncover this secret, as he called it. It's this whole pragmatic philosophy of achievement that actually started with a challenge from Andrew Carnegie, of all people.
Right, and what's really insightful, I think, is that even though the title says Grow Rich, Hill makes it clear this isn't just about money. It's really a blueprint for getting wealth in any form, spiritual, mental, and yes, material too. The big claim he makes, which is pretty profound, is that the process for achieving, say, spiritual wealth uses the exact same psychological mechanics as getting rich financially. It suggests that mindset, it's truly universal. You can apply it to any definite goal you set. And it's a philosophy that's supposedly been tested and proven by thousands of people.
That is fascinating, isn't it? This idea that the path to inner success kind of mirrors the path to outer success. The story goes that Carnegie just sort of casually tossed this money-making secret into Hill's mind, challenged him to spend his life figuring it out and then revealing it to the world. So for you, our curious learner, we're going to peel back the layers today. We want to move beyond just a summary, really. We want to reveal the surprising, almost counterintuitive ideas behind this so-called secret and explore what it could mean for your own life. Okay, so where does this whole powerful philosophy kick off? At the very, very core, it's about what Hill calls burning desire and a definite purpose. And we're not talking about just, wishing or hoping vaguely. This is intense, a consuming obsession, a really deeply felt longing.
Yeah, and to really get the intensity Hill means, you just need to look at that story of Edwin C. Barnes and Thomas Edison. You probably know it. That Barnes, totally driven by this unwavering obsession to become Edison's business associate, he just shows up, no appointment, declares what he's there for. What really strikes me isn't just that he persisted for years, but his absolute refusal to even consider retreating. His desire was so definite he basically burned his bridges, no turning back. Hill has that famous line, when one is truly ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance. Barnes eventually succeeding, becoming Edison's partner, it just perfectly shows how that unyielding, definite desire makes you ready for the opportunity when it shows up.
It's that absolute commitment, isn't it, that just shifts everything. And for those of us wondering, okay, how do I get that level of desire? Hill offers a pretty powerful, actionable blueprint. He breaks down this process of transmuting desire into its physical equivalent into a few clear steps. It's about being incredibly specific with your goal, whether it's money or something else. And crucially, deciding exactly what you plan to give in return. Because there's no getting without giving, right? That's a key theme.
Right.
Then you set a firm deadline, create a detailed plan, and here's the critical part. Start immediately.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you feel totally ready or not.
And what's pretty remarkable is that Thomas Edison himself, a man of incredible practicality, apparently scrutinized and approved these steps.
Yeah.
He confirmed they worked not just for getting wealthy, but for achieving any definite goal, which really highlights their universal power. It suggests these aren't just like business tactics. There may be a fundamental formula for turning thought into reality. It's about programming your focus.
Okay, so having that burning, definite desire, that's the spark. But what keeps the fire going? What sustains it? Hill argues it's persistence. That sustained effort you need to induce faith and, really importantly, to beat that procrastination habit we all struggle with sometimes.
Indeed. And one of the most common reasons for failure, Hill points out, is quitting when you hit some temporary defeat. The story of R.U. Darby's uncle comes straight to mind. He got caught up in the gold fever, started digging, but then stopped just 3 feet from gold. He just quit, sold his equipment. And then, of course, the person who bought it found the huge vein right where he'd given up. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we stop right before the breakthrough, thinking a temporary setback is permanent failure?
And Darby learned a massive lesson from that mistake, didn't he? He apparently applied it later in his life insurance sales career. He realized that when a prospect said no, it didn't necessarily mean no forever. It taught him to just keep going, maybe change his approach, but not to give up, no matter how tough it got.
Absolutely. And this gets reinforced powerfully by what Hill calls the 50-cent lesson in persistence. It's this little anecdote about a really determined young girl. Despite Darby's uncle being really stern, even threatening, she just refused to leave his mill until she got the piece of candy she wanted. She apparently taught both men this unforgettable lesson about just unwavering effort. how a definite purpose can just wear down resistance, that singular focus.
It really speaks to the idea that perseverance just changes the game. Hill mentions lots of famous people, like Fannie Hurst, the author. She got 36 rejection slips before she finally broke through. And then there's Kate Smith, the singer. Conquered Broadway through sheer persistence, even when others maybe had more raw talent. It wasn't just skill, it was her absolute refusal to quit.
And if we sort of connect this to the bigger picture, developing persistence isn't some magic gift you're born with. Hill says it's a skill you can learn. He outlines 4 key things. First, that definite purpose backed by burning desire. Second, a definite plan that you put into continuous action. Third, a mind that's closed off tightly to all the negative, discouraging stuff. And fourth, crucially, a mastermind alliance, which, yeah, we should talk about next. This blueprint basically builds that mental toughness needed to push through challenges.
And here's the good news, maybe. Hill emphasizes that lacking persistence is, well, it's a common human weakness, but it's not permanent. It can be fixed. And the key, he suggests, is simple. Just build a stronger fire under your desires. The more intense and definite that desire is, the easier it becomes to persist through anything. Okay, so persistence is the engine, but what's powering that engine? Hill argues the real fuel, the place where all plans are actually born, is the mind itself, the imagination. He makes a distinction between synthetic imagination, that's like organizing ideas you already know, and then the more profound creative imagination. This is where you supposedly get new ideas, hunches, inspirations, directly from what he calls infinite intelligence.
Right. And what's truly fascinating here is how he describes creative imagination working best. It functions optimally when the conscious mind is, like, stimulated and vibrating at a really high rate, way beyond just normal thinking and that elevated state. It's often reached through the emotion of a strong, burning desire. It's at this higher vibration that genuinely original ideas and solutions seem to just arrive, almost like they're downloaded, which raises a good question for all of us, right? How often are we actually stimulating our minds to get to that level?
That's an excellent point. And to bring this concept alive, Hill uses the amazing story of Coca-Cola. The book reveals that the secret ingredient Isa Candler mixed in wasn't just syrup. It was essentially imagination. It was his ability to see the potential, to act on that simple idea that turned it into this huge global empire, all from a drugstore syrup.
Yeah, incredible. And similarly, think about Dr. Frank Gonzalez. For 2 years, he had this deep desire, this definite purpose to start a tech institute. Then, one Saturday, he makes a firm decision. He will get the money needed. The very next morning, he gives a sermon titled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million." And get this, within 36 hours of making that definite decision and having his plan clear, Philip D. Armour, who heard the sermon, gives him the exact amount. It's a powerful demo of an idea backed by purpose and plans, almost like, the universe just lines things up.
So how do we actively tap into this power? This is where autosuggestion comes in. Hill explains it as the way you communicate your desires directly to your subconscious mind. And this is key, you have to do it in a spirit of absolute faith. Through repetition, remember those steps. Reading your purpose aloud twice daily. You voluntarily create these thought habits, and these habits start to, well, trick or deceive your subconscious into believing you already have what you want. And then the subconscious supposedly gets to work making it real. Now, while individual desire, persistence, imagination, they're all crucial, but there's this other force that seems to amplify everything exponentially. That's the mastermind principle, which he defines as coordinating knowledge and effort between 2 or more people, all working in perfect harmony toward a specific, definite purpose.
Exactly. And this principle has 2 sides to it. First, there's the obvious economic advantage, right? Pooling skills, knowledge, effort, you get better results together. But the second part is deeper, more psychic, as Hill describes it. It's like the combined mental energy of minds working in harmony creates this power that's greater than just adding up the individual parts. Almost as if these minds together can tap into that infinite intelligence he talks about. And what's really wild is he says this collective energy then becomes available to every single brain in that group, boosting their own power.
And the historical examples are pretty persuasive. Andrew Carnegie himself said his huge fortune came from his mastermind group, about 50 men, all focused on making and selling steel. And Henry Ford, too. He had limited formal schooling, right? But his biggest leaps came after he formed close alliances with brilliant people like Edison, Firestone, Burbank. He effectively borrowed or appropriated their intelligence and experience through working together, not owning it, but collaborating.
And if you want a non-business example, Mahatma Gandhi is maybe one of the most powerful demonstrations. He managed to get over 200 million people to coordinate in harmony for a definite purpose, India's independence, and importantly, without force. It just shows the immense kind of passive power you can get from a collective mind working together. It's not just for industrialists.
And that really is the key takeaway for you, the listener, isn't it? This mastermind principle isn't just for titans of industry or world leaders. It's available to anyone who's willing to cultivate it. To surround yourself with people who share your definite purpose and can work in harmony. It's about choosing that inner circle very carefully. Now, as you embark on this journey, this path of definite purpose and persistence, Hill also warns us about the common enemies that stop people. He calls them the 6 basic fears. And they're often subtle, kind of hidden deep down in the subconscious.
Yeah, let's just quickly list them out for you. There's the fear of poverty. He calls that the most destructive. Then the fear of criticism, which can just kill ambition and initiative. The fear of ill health, often imaginary, he says, influenced by suggestion. Then you've got fear of loss of love, fear of old age, which leads to stagnation, feeling like your best years are behind you. And finally, the fear of death, often tied up, he suggests, with religious ideas.
And it's so crucial to understand that these fears, as Hill puts it, they're just ghosts. They are creations of an imagination that's not under control. But, and this is the kicker, they're as dangerous as any real enemy. They can paralyze your ability to reason, destroy your self-reliance. They can lead to what he actually calls mental suicide, that self-sabotage that happens when you give in to these negative thought patterns.
So this brings up the big question, how do you fight them? Hill's answer is stark. Humans have absolute control over only one thing, and that's their thoughts. That power to control your thoughts. That is the key to mastering fear. The book warns that negative thoughts like fear or maybe feeling disgraced can actually lead to physical decline. It emphasizes how much our mental states affect our physical bodies. Truly mind over matter.
And to make things even harder, people often cling to what Hill colorfully calls the 57 famous alibis. You know the ones, the excuses people use to explain why they haven't succeeded. Things like, oh, if I only had money or if I just had a better education. Hill is pretty blunt about these. He calls them brain children that you absolutely have to abandon. Because, as he says, alibis cannot be used for money. They're just creations of our own minds to justify not acting and, let's be honest, protect our egos.
Right. And the profound insight here is that the philosophy laid out in Think and Grow Rich basically makes every single one of those excuses obsolete. It really pushes you towards rigorous self-analysis. Identify these deep habits, confront them. Understanding that you have total control over your thoughts, that's your ultimate weapon against these internal roadblocks. It turns these crippling fears back into just shadows.
Okay, let's shift towards practical application now.
Right.
Because these universal principles, they aren't just for, becoming a millionaire. They connect directly to how you market yourself, your personal services, effectively in a world that's always changing.
Yeah, Hill points out a big shift happening in employer-employee relationships, moving towards more of a partnership model. The focus becomes mutual cooperation and serving the public, who he says is the ultimate employer. So the old go-getter idea is kind of replaced by the go-giver, where providing value and service is paramount, and that requires you to know yourself.
Which means continuous personal development is key. Hill really encourages regular self-analysis, using specific questions to look at your own performance, your qualities, where you need to improve. It's like how a business takes inventory every year. It's not about beating yourself up. It's strategic self-awareness for growth, a disciplined look at your own marketable assets.
And this ties right back into the value of specialized knowledge and always learning. Hill clarifies, real education isn't just about how many degrees you have. It's about your ability to organize knowledge and actually apply it. And maybe even more critically, your ability to organize and direct a mastermind group. He uses Henry Ford again as an example. Limited schooling, sure, but he excelled because he knew how to surround himself with people who had the specialized knowledge he lacked. He leveraged their minds.
So you can see, opportunities really are everywhere, especially for what Hill calls practical dreamers. Those are the people who actually put their thoughts and definite plans into action and stick with it through persistence. It's partly about leveraging the systems and freedoms around you, yes, but maybe more importantly, it's about leveraging your own mind and the minds of others you align with. So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, the curious learner listening right now? Well, fundamentally, it means you hold the greatest power there is. The power to control your own thoughts and therefore direct your own destiny.
Yeah, this book's secret, it isn't some magic wand. It's a really profound, but also very pragmatic philosophy. It boils down to the consistent application of definite desire, that unyielding persistence, controlled imagination, using autosuggestion, harnessing the mastermind principle, and crucially, mastering fear. It's basically a roadmap for living intentionally, not just, wishful thinking.
So we really encourage you to take this journey of self-discovery, identify what you really desire, cultivate that persistence so temporary defeat doesn't stop you, embrace the incredible power locked inside your own mind, and think strategically about aligning with others to multiply your efforts.
And maybe just a final thought from the book for you to mull over. Life is a checkerboard, and the player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You are playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision.
Powerful stuff. Will you make the start and be convinced? Your moment to act is now.